A Travis County judge ruled last week that Governor Abbott's Operation Lone Star violates the supremacy clause of the United States Constitution. Well, after that ruling, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton weighed in on Twitter, saying Lib Austin judge lets a Soros Travis County DA represent state of Texas, then declares Op Lone Star unconstitutional. Ridiculous. Biden has failed to secure the border. Texas stepped in. We have the right to defend our border if the feds refuse. I'll fight this nonsense on appeal. Here to talk about this is Glenn Smith, senior strategist at Progress Texas, and former Texas GOP Chairman James Dickey. Glenn Smith, did the judge make the right decision calling Abbott's Operation Lone Star unconstitutional?
Well, I think the supremacy clause is the supremacy clause. So yes, it's impossible. In many instances, the troops, which by the way, Abbott has dropped under the wheels of the bus, but more on that later, they are down there in the way of the federal operation. The federal operation takes precedence. It's really simple according to the Constitution. And now I'm going to come back to our troops, Texas State Guard, Texas National Guard on the border. Four suicides confirmed, maybe another one this last Sunday, going unpaid, going without restroom facilities. Many of them in local law enforcement pulled off the streets where they've been fighting crime to sit on the border for a photo op for the governor.
Okay.
It has to end.
All right, James, Paxton called this ruling ridiculous. What do you think of that?
It is. If it weren't so offensive, it would be absolutely ludicrous. Here's what the judge did. The judge said, I'm going to hear a case on Texas law, but instead of having the Texas Attorney General come in and defend it, I'm going to have the Travis County Attorney General, District Attorney come in and defend it, because we know how great the Travis County District Attorney defends laws and prosecutes. He comes in, the Travis County District Attorney comes in and says, you know what, I disagree with the plaintiffs. Yeah, we're going to agree. And so the judge gets to pick the prosecutor, set up a deal, and then all agree that this is out of hand. And then let's talk about the supremacy clause. But just the whole thing was a kangaroo court.
Glenn, you mentioned it before, how the military people, the National Guard down on the border, are being treated, as you put it. Expand on that. What is their mission?
Most of these reports have originated, by the way, with the conservative outlets like the Military Times and the Army Times. They can't, the Republicans can't point a finger at so-called liberal Austin. And what's happened was they weren't provided for. The provisioning of the troops sent to the border, basically as a photo backdrop for Abbott, were not provided adequate provisions.
Okay.
A military failure of unparalleled proportions.
All righty. James, if the primary wasn't 6 weeks away, would National Guard troops be at our border?
Certainly, the legislature passed over $1 billion to help support this over a year ago. This has been going on for a while, but let's come to the supremacy clause. So what this judge says was Texas can't enforce its own trespassing laws or other misdemeanor charges because the federal government has let these illegal immigrants come in. Well, where does that end? Supremacy clause mean you can't prosecute a murderer or a rapist because they happen to also be let in by the federal government? It's absolutely absurd.
All right.
Can we quickly add to that those trespassers were actually, those trespassers were taken places where they were trespassing so they could be arrested for trespassing. All right.
Okay.
So let's get some facts.
Bless your heart, Glenn.
We are out of time, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Thank you.